We are American children of immigrant parents. The lived experience of Haitians and Koreans, of the Black Power and Yellow Peril movement, and of minority pawns pitted against each other. We represent the invisibility of Asians and the hypervisibility of Blackness, and occupy two polar opposite spaces: the effeminate model minority versus the hypermasculine violent nuisance. Two distinct depictions which undermines our humanity. Raised in the hip-hop era and the rise of digital media, we know what it takes to be a conduit of social change. At least we think we do. So we broke bread with each other like any human would. This is Diaspora through dining. Break bread with us.
So I'm Danny Chung with Uji Buji.
Wilkine Brutus with Uji Wuji.
Here we are with Julie Young, our fine hosts here at Jongro in Koreatown, New York City, where we're enjoying this meal of Korean barbecue.
Don't mind me, I'm just caressing the soju bottle really quick. We are discussing a lot of things here at a Korean barbecue. Join us.
One of these guys. The way I remember Korean barbecue as a kid is literally just like a propane grill in the middle of the kitchen, your grandma cooking pork, on top of newspapers and shit like that, feeding the family. It was way less glamorous than being in the middle of Manhattan, overlooking cityscape and shit like that.
It's a great way to explore culture. It's always through food. You watch popular, travel shows. They do it through food oftentimes, I also find it interesting how, we both have this sort of immigrant experience for the most part. We were born in the States, we're Americans by default. But we still have this sort of connection to our quote-unquote homeland. You're Korean American, I'm Haitian American.
Right.
Both of our parents talked about studying hard, working hard, every single immigrant family. But do you feel like sometimes our parents have no grasp of, like, for example, systemic racism or structural inequality?
Right. Well, it's a very different situation from our parents because they had such tunnel vision. From the immigrant experience of coming to America, they had this, these ideals and this focus of coming to America when it was like, the grand American dream.
Right.
And it was during like the baby boom generation where that American dream was actually a viable thing. And our parents came from this immigrant background where even though they were being oppressed and they were facing racism and stuff, they completely brushed it off because they had bigger things in mind. We didn't understand the dynamic of it.
Right.
And we're kind of just thrown into that thing, and we're kind of figuring it out as we go along. But white America is still looked at as default.
Right.
And we're still trying to figure out where we fit in, even though we're just as American as they are.
It's very fascinating. That's a great point. Because, like, when we think of Sayegu, for example, it's like our country pit Asians and blacks against each other during the LA riots without any knowledge of the socioeconomic differences that brought that anger, to the surface.
Right.
And so that's probably why you see a lot of like Asian allies within like the Black Lives Matter movement, because there's an socioeconomic component being added to the conversation, to the dialogue.
Well, Asians and blacks have been just pitted against each other for a long time. That the modern minority myth against the hyper black male myth. A lot of people look at it like Ice Cube looked at it, as like Black Korea, like they're exploiting the hood, and in a lot of ways they are. At the same time, it becomes from a place of not being accepted into these corporate boardrooms, not being able to become chairman, even if you are work your way up that corporate ladder, you're never going to become executive.
They call it the bamboo ceiling.
Yeah, because they're not going to look at you as a leader. They're never going to put you in leadership role. So you might as well get your paper where you can or whatever. And it's not purposely exploitive, but it was the best situation that you could put yourself in.
They found themselves in. Right. You mentioned masculinity earlier, and how that manifests in different ways, especially for Black and Asian men. You're a rapper. You're in hip hop right now. Stereotypically, you're deemed not as masculine as Black men, but now things are changing. Jaden Smith, Will Smith's son, is trying on dresses. Young Thug, for example, is hovering and testing the waters in many ways. What are your thoughts on that? What is changing the perception of Asian men being different?
In popular culture, like that Jada Smith thing and the Young Thug, they almost looked at as anomalies. You know, the same thing as Asians in rap, because the stereotype of an Asian male is almost polar opposite of what you think of a hip hop figure or whatever. You know, it's hyper masculine, super machismo, bravado, you know, super ego. That's why I think a lot of Asian males in our generation gravitated towards hip hop, especially because we didn't have, you know, some characters or people in media or in mainstream media that were role models in that way. I mean, we did have the, you know, the martial arts guys, but at the same time that just perpetuated that same stereotype that we're, you know, used to, even the kung fu shit and the karate shit.
Now, with food, there's obviously this connection with the motherland.
Right.
Now, when you travel to Korea, do you feel more American or do you feel more Korean? Because I know the word for your identity is called gyoko. What is
in
gyoko?
In America, I'm very conscious of my Asianness. I'm very conscious of that. In Korea, I'm very conscious of my Americanness. You know, so like being hyphenated, that hyphen is a purgatory. You know, so you're kind of stuck in this middle ground and trying to find your identity. But Korea doesn't accept you because you're too American for Korea. America doesn't accept you because you're too Asian for America. But you know, I feel like my kid won't have that problem. He'll be American. My parents won't have that problem because they're Korean.
For us, like they would call me Diaspora. I'm more American than I am Haitian.
Right.
So, growing up, I was too Haitian for African Americans and too black for whites.
Right.
So I was always trying to find this sort of middle ground. And by the time I visited Haiti, my family's from this area called Jérémie. That's when I had the similar experience.
There's always time to explore our commonality and humanize our lived experiences. We are fluid identities rising together in a new era of emerging communities. But remember, we define ourselves by our movements, not our placements. This is Diaspora through Dining. Break bread with us.